welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
How we doing, Rob?
Really good, bud. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Did you get that picture I sent you?
Which one?
The one in my bathroom?
Of all the color swatches?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
That's my girl.
Man,
That's
too many options.
My girl.
It's just a bathroom, right?
It's a small bathroom too. I mean, it's small.
Yeah, there's like 37 different color samples.
There's 30 to be exact, 30 samples. And I said, I think half of them are white and the other half are like beige.
Yeah.
So I walked into that. Now I know I have mentioned on the show before that I had 8 swatches on the wall one time in the bedroom.
Yeah, I
and they
remember.
were there for almost a year. And every once in a while, I'd see Pauline, just standing in the room staring at it in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, just so she could see where the colors are going to go. And then the other day, I walked into the bathroom and I said, "Oh, here we go. We'll be painting in 10 months. 10 months." I go, set your watch to this one. So I just had to send you the pictures just so you
cracked me up when I saw it.
Believe me that this is just part of my life. As a matter of fact, she has so many swatches on the wall. It's taken up a good chunk of the wall. I would think, just
12 more swatches,
30 more and cover the whole place.
Yeah, you're done.
And we'll have to paint.
All right, we got a lot to touch on today, so we'll kind of go quick. We are going to talk about myths in the hardwood flooring industry. A lot of these are things that during the course of our career we thought was a thing. We realized or found out that not so much. When you're got it in your mind that it's a certain way. Do you remember Nirvana? Smells Like Teen Spirit. Nevermind, of the Nevermind album, which, by the way, that album changed the course of music in a heartbeat, on a dime. It took away every hair band's mojo and left them in the dust. In fact, it probably killed hair bands. That grunge music that started, it made them.
It absolutely did.
Yeah, it made those hair bands seem silly, right?
They all just started pumping out their greatest hits albums. It's over. We're not doing anything new.
Yeah.
So we'll do a greatest hits and maybe a Christmas album.
Yeah. But when that song first came out and the song starts up and that heavy guitar and everything, and here we are now, entertain us. I thought was, here we are now in containers. For the longest time, I thought that was the lyrics. So sometimes you get stuff in your head that you think is a certain way and not so much. So maybe we'll
Blinded by the Light.
What?
Blinded by the Light. The song Blinded by the Light.
Yeah.
Do you know what the words are to that?
No.
Blinded by the light.
ELO.
Revved up like a deuce. Wander in the night. It's revved up like a deuce, not what everybody thought it was.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it blurred the lines a little bit there too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, because everybody heard that song the first time and go, "Oh my God, what'd they just say?" You can't say that. Revved up like a deuce. You know what's? This is a new one. This is a first. You and I both sang on the show.
That's right.
Both of us sang today.
Do you remember Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven? I thought was, there's a wino down the road. Maybe last time I sing. And their lyrics are really as I wind on down the road. But everybody, it sounds like there's a wino down the road.
There's a wino.
I knew it was. Probably 15 years I thought that was the lyrics. So anyhow, So sometimes everything what you think
That
is
was pretty good Led Zeppelin. You can really get that high. That's
it's
that's tough.
yeah, to sing falsetto like that.
I
Falsetto.
try to coach people
Mhm.
at karaoke night,
Yeah.
helping them pick out their songs. And on a song like that, I'd say, you really got to be able to hit that high note, man.
Yeah.
It's like stay away from anything David Lee Roth does. You can't,
Well,
you can't do David Lee Roth.
okay. There are certain people you cannot cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll tell you another one. Nobody can cover George Jones. Nobody. Nobody can cover George Jones. That's just the way it is. And you're right about David Lee Roth. Another one. I don't know how you follow that. But real quick before we get on to our subject, I'm listening to a band right now I freaking love, man. And the band is called Midland. M as in Mary, Midland. It's a country band, but it's kind of a throwback. And they got a new album called On the Rocks. There's not a bad song on the album. I think it's the best album to come out in a long time in country music. And I don't like today's country music very much.
What's the name of it? Midland?
Yeah. Midland. And the album is called On the Rocks. I can't get past it, man. Every time I get on the car, I listen to it.
Is it
So anyhow,
old
crazy.
school?
It is kind of like a mixture of both. But it's not that bro country music or that, whatever they're doing with country music now, that crap that's on the air for the most part.
Boy, I don't want to sound like an old geezer, but when I switch a station because I think, what is it doing on the pop station?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on the country station.
Yeah.
It was I remember, God rest his soul, good old Charlie Daniels. Man, he did not like that. He did not like that kind of country music where you can't tell if it's country music or not.
Well, country music finally got what they've been wanting since probably Hank Williams picked up a guitar. Country music has been struggling to find a younger audience from 50 years ago because old people don't buy albums. They don't go to concerts. They don't buy T-shirts. So they've been trying to get a younger audience. And with What's Her Name came out, I mean, that the crossover, What's Her Name, that album Red or whatever was it?
Oh, the girl.
The girl, what's always writing about ex-boyfriends.
Yeah.
Right
Taylor
now,
Swift.
Taylor Swift, yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, her early stuff was very country.
Yeah, and she's completely switched.
Right.
All right. Completely off topic. So let's go. So myths that we thought were a thing, and then we realized over time is not the case. Go.
Wood floor myths. Here we go.
Yeah. You got anything?
More solids, the better. Do I have anything?
More solids, the better. What the hell do you mean by that?
If a finish is high in solids, it's got to be a better finish.
Oh, see, that was not very well communicated. I was thinking you were saying more solids like solid wood flooring versus engineered. So you're saying you're talking about finishes.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a whole different paint job. Okay, the more solids, the better. Explain yourself, please.
It's not how many solids are in a finish. It's the quality of the solids.
Thank you for saying that.
It's the quality of the resins. It's the quality of the solids. A satin finish is going to have more solids than a gloss finish because satin has flattening agents in it that do nothing for strength, but it's a solid. So that's part of the makeup. So do not get in that whole deal of the higher the solid content, the better the finish. Not true.
Because solid what? Solid bird feathers? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
solid,
exactly. You could throw anything in there. Right.
That has bugged me for the longest time. I'm glad you said that because it is so misleading that it's bugged me more than I can tell you. So I'm glad to hear you say that. That is absolutely a fact. It is the quality of the resins in the solids versus the amount. Because, I mean, otherwise, whatever. We put any solids in there. Just put more and, you won. So
exactly.
It's a ridiculous concept. So thanks.
And I mean, and that is why the entire world has been chasing traffic and traffic HD
Yep.
It's not the solid content, it's the quality of the solids and the resins that we use, the
Yeah.
polymers, all of that. That's what matters.
Also hardness, by the way. Do you have that down on your list? People
No.
think it's the harder the finish, the better. Absolutely not the case too. I can tell you a manufacturer, oh gosh, back in the, I was going to say 20s, back in the 80s, came out with a product that said the hardest finish. It was rough. It was hard as could be, extremely hard finish, and failed because it didn't have all the other properties that you need in the finish. There's a lot of ways you measure finish, like maybe 10 different metrics of how you determine what makes up the finish. That being one of them. And but there's many other products that are extremely important. So that is also one that is just not, you can't say, well, it's harder. It's not what people think it is.
Yeah, because something I learned, an old timer, the guy, Mike Sundell, I'll say his name. Hopefully Mike is listening to the show. Just one of the best guys I ever met in my life in the industry. And he was one of my dad's first salesmen. So I met him when we were still doing bowling alleys. And like I said, he invented the T-bar, taught me how to pull the T-bar. And he was talking to me. He said, what I want you to do, I want you to go home, take a piece of cellophane, put some polyurethane on one side and some water base on the other, and let the two films dry. He said, then I want you to take the polyurethane and try to pull it, okay, stretch it, and then do the water base. And this is the whole key to water base. When you stretch the water base, you could stretch it to 10, 12, 15, whatever, and it would go back, okay? It will go back. Polyurethane, like you said, hardness. Yeah. Hardness equals brittle. Boom. It just snaps. Doesn't stretch, doesn't do anything.
Yep.
So
yeah,
you're right. Hard. Just because the finish is super hard, does not mean that it's going to have good wear capabilities.
Not the answer. Yep. All right. You know what? You were so good. Go again.
No need to abrade. I'm sorry. Boy, did I screw that one up.
Hello.
Need to abrade all coats.
Yeah.
And I really thought that I wasn't even going to use this one, but I had a crew come in last week. And I'm going to tell you what they said, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this crew. I'm going to jump off track here because it was like a day at the UN with that crew. When I was talking to them about hot coating finishes, right? How you can't hot coat oil and you can hot coat the water, the 48-hour hot coat window. Well, this guy is like, what are you talking about? So I really started to talk to the crew about it. Now the owner had stepped outside, he had to make a call or something. And two of his workers are screaming to him, get in here. You got to hear this. I was the same guy. I mean, I used water base for years and years until literally one day I was just sitting in the truck having lunch with Pete, and I started to read the can, and it said no need to abrade as long as you're under 8 hours. And I was like, what? Read that. I said to Pete, I go, read this. Is this right? What?
Yeah.
I said to him, what do you think that means?
Yeah. Surely it doesn't mean we don't have to buff it.
Because you have to buff in between coats, whether it's oil, water, or anything. Well, they finally ran out, pulled the owner in, and this guy, they didn't realize that. They had, and it was one of those crews that he learned it from his uncle. This is the way his uncle did it, so this is the way they did it. But this crew also works on some big jobs, 3,000-4,000 feet. They're buffing in between every coat, cleaning, buffing and everything. Well, they were just blown away. So even though I always thought, oh, that's an old myth and everybody knows it. No, that's kind of why I threw it up there.
Think about the labor savings, man. If you ask me, what I hated to do the worst in this industry, if I could take away one thing that we have to do, it'd be vacuuming. I mean, you vacuum and vacuum and vacuum and vacuum. So you have to abrade the floor and to cut out that step because you're getting a chemical bond is huge, man. Good. All right.
Hey, this crew I had, I'm going to give a shout out to the guys from Above and Beyond Floors, Trenton, New Jersey. There are a couple guys that came from Poland. One guy came from Kazakhstan. Another guy came from Mexico. So like I said, it was like working in the UN. I mean, I've said it before, nobody should have as much fun at school as we did at that school. I mean, just laughing the whole time. So we're almost done. We're probably halfway through the second day. And the owner says to me, Rob, what are you, beer or whiskey man? I said, I really don't drink. I go once in a while, I'll have a Zambuca on the rocks. That's, He's like, Zambuca, what's that? It's kind of, I don't know. It's like a liqueur, like a licorice type taste. I said, I like it. Boom, the guy disappears. He comes back about 2 hours later. Alfredo was helping. Jeff Alfredo, he was also, it was his crew, right? It's his guys. They brought Jeff gift wrap, bottle of whiskey.
Wow.
They bought me gift wrap, bottle of Zambuca, but it was wrapped too.
Mhm.
And you get a nice gift. I like it was nice. Anybody come to the schools, I love gifts. You want to keep giving me gifts? I'll take a gift anytime. Great. So then he pulls out another bottle of rosé Zambuca. I never even heard of it.
Wow.
He goes, I got this for us, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, great. Next thing you know, he pulls out a bunch of plastic shot glasses in the middle of the school.
Oh, no.
He starts pouring shots for everybody. So I was like, all right. And so then I thought, so I'm like, we really can't do that. And he goes, please. He goes, in Poland, this is how we show respect to our teachers. And he goes, this is, this is how we do it in Poland. So, this, I said, okay, what is, one shot's not going to kill anybody.
Mhm.
We all have a shot and we get back to work. And I'm thinking, don't run heavy machinery.
Mhm.
Oh, the next thing you know, he comes walking around with another round shot. I'm like, oh, all right, wait a minute. Really, this will be the end. They wanted to finish the bottle. So I was like, all right, we just got to turn the machines off and we'll finish the rest of the day doing PowerPoint and testing and things like that. How about that? Okay. The craziest class I had ever seen. They had never pulled a T-bar. Okay. When I was showing them how to pull a T-bar, you want to talk about guys like a duck to water? I was like,
Okay.
I'm almost calling them liars. There's no way you've never pulled a T-bar.
Wow.
Or, whether the
Yeah.
alcohol made me a better
Right.
instructor, maybe that
Yeah.
was it. Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
But like I said, it was like a shot out of the UN. Funniest bunch of guys, hearing all the, the other thing about this job, my job, is I do train a lot of guys from all over the world,
Mhm.
and man, when you start, and I don't want to get political here, but when you start hearing what really goes on in socialist countries, Russia, Cuba, Poland, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, wow, people really need to hear these stories because it's just incredible what those people go through and what they go through to get here, to get away
Yeah.
from that mayhem.
We're watching a movie right now. My wife and I, it takes place in a different country, and holy smokes! I told you, I said everybody should have to watch this movie that ever complains about what we have here. So, all right, we got a bunch more to get through. So go ahead. I like your list here, man. So why don't you just keep going?
This was one my grandfather used to say, Robbie, the worse it stinks, the better it is.
Yeah.
Talking about finish. And it was that same day. I remember the guy Looked like he was pouring milk out on the lanes, and there was water-based finish, had no smell at all. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
it's got to be the worst finish in the world.
Yep. Yep. We all
Turns
thought that.
out it was the best.
Yep. Finishes, what do you call it? Wood filler. You know, that was the whole thing. I mean, it had to stink. It had to have all them chemicals in it to be effective. Oh, all right, good stuff. Well, hell, keep going. I like your list.
Deeper the scratch is best for intercoat abrasion. Now, I guess this has got to be one for real old timers like you and I.
Mhm.
Remember, we used to do intercoat abrasion with a used 80 grit
Oh
screen,
yeah, yep,
right?
yep.
And the gouges that we were putting in those floors to
Yeah.
get another coat on there.
Gosh.
And what I found out, and you know, everybody knows I work for Basic Coatings and I work for Bona. And when you hear the same thing, I think, when I hear the same exact thing from both labs, you're like, all right, this has got to be the, you know, the real one. And both labs said the same thing, that it's not the depth of the scratch, it's actually how many scratches you're going to put in. The more scratches you get in that floor, the better your adhesion. So,
Yeah.
you know, a maroon pad is going to give you, you know, it's a 320 grit, so you're going to get that many more scratches than you would if you're using a used 120 screen or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not the depth of the scratch that holds the finish, it's the number of scratches.
Yep. It's funny. You as soon as you said that, it brought back memories of you know, having my box of used screens and kind of filling them. Say, well, yeah, well, how used is this? Is this used enough? Or not having a new one and going out into the garage and burning it on the concrete to get some of that aggressiveness off like a 150 screen, so I could trust it. And then we'd start in the back of the house, scared to death that it was going to leave, you know, any scratches in the floor. So man, I don't miss those days. All
That's
right.
what I love about the maroon pads and our diamonds.
Yep.
Man, water-based finish, take 2 of those 240 diamonds, put it on a double stack maroon pad, and you will just have, it barely removes any depth of finish.
Yep.
Bum and I did that gym a couple years ago. That was the exact system we used. The maroon pads with the diamonds on top, you know, diamonds underneath.
Mhm.
We laid down a coat of 350, and we came back in the next day. And the custodian goes, "No, it's not dry. It's still not dry."
Mhm.
And I looked at Bum and I go, if this isn't dry, we're in so much trouble, because I think we had laid the coat around 3 o'clock. So, but when you looked at that floor, it looked like we had just laid the coat. It looked that wet.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it was dry as a
Just-
bone, because the guy
Yeah.
lost his breath when I took a step out on the floor.
Yeah.
I go, "No, she's dry." And he's like, "No way." I go, "Yep, dry as a bone." Walked right out on it.
Wow.
So, I mean, compared to the old days when we were,
Yeah.
like you said, when you were dulling up 150 screens, so it wouldn't, it's amazing what we
Yeah.
can do now.
Oh man, I mean, you look at the advances in the industry. That surely is one of the most notable ones. The intercoat abrasion systems out there.
Yeah.
So, and the diamonds, game changer.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What else you got?
2-part epoxy is the best for repairs and molding. I really
that.
threw this one in for you.
Explain that one though.
Well, you're the
2-part
national
epoxy.
adhesives manager. I thought you'd have a blast with this one.
Well,
Where a 2-part epoxy
is best for
if
repairs.
the moves, if anything moves, the epoxy shatters and we have no bond.
No.
Wow.
Two-part epoxy is sometimes the best for repairs and molding. So I'm talking about wind shakes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Hairline cracks in the boards and that kind of stuff, or you know, that type of repair.
For a board repair.
Yeah, for a quick one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I still like, I think there's a place for them. And I always have a, epoxy kit in my van for doing repairs for just that, for like a wind shake or something.
Okay. So I think what I should have said on this was when I said repairs, I meant patching.
Okay, okay. Hey, listen, no need to be embarrassed. So we'll go on to the next one. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for repairs, absolutely. Especially you want that floor to have the elongation properties of adhesive, right? You don't want them so tight that they won't move and give it all. You got to have
Right.
some of that elongation. So yeah, in that regard, I agree.
So that's what I meant by that.
Okay.
Patching. You're not
Yeah.
going to use, or the old days we used epoxy to patch everything.
Yeah,
Now,
bad
that's the
idea.
last thing you want to do.
Yep. All
Yeah,
right.
you and I need to have better production meetings, I think.
Or at least a production meeting. Things are tough if we're using all your notes. But go ahead, go on to the next one. Low cost tools, bits, blades, save money. I have to say, I never did think that way. That was never a myth that I thought.
Oh,
I always
that was so me.
really, I'm the opposite to a fault. I think here's where it stems.
My son, and sometimes I still fall into that trap, And my kid says to me, Dad, if I see one more Diablo drill bit or Diablo saw blade, I'm gonna bang you in the head with it. You gotta
Yeah,
stop. And he was showing me, his saw blades, and
yeah,
they're $80, $100, but make beautiful cuts. They're perfect. Where, oh man, I just got into that. No, that's good. I can buy 5 Diablo blades compared to your one blade. And
yeah,
he's like, yeah, but a brand new Diablo blade isn't going to make a beautiful cut like my blade does.
yep.
And when another one that he got me with was his Festool palm sander. I don't know what he paid for it. I think he told me he paid like $400 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you out here, mind? I can buy 10 palm sanders for $400.
Yeah,
And he goes, I'm going to save you some time. He goes, don't say another word. Just use it. Try it.
yeah,
So I guess that was my myth. Low cost tools, bits and blades save money
yeah.
because they don't save time. I'll tell you that.
No, you end up having to buy them over and over and over again. So yeah, I'm kind of the other way around, maybe even to a fault. And I have, by the way, yeah, I'm huge into bass fishing, or and I'm a tool guy, but I have no love for old fishing equipment. I have no love for old. I don't have no romantic feel about old tools. Like some guys will put old saws in their house or in their man cave or something, or they'll put, or they want to buy old fishing equipment because it's old. I have zero interest in that. I want the best technology you can get. So that's same with like old Corvettes and everything. I love the way they look, but would I spend the money on a really nice old car like that? No, because it doesn't have the air that comes up to your seat. Have you ever had one of those, by the way? Oh, you haven't lived until you've sat in an automobile that has cold air flowing up your butt. I'm telling you, Rob,
This is important to you.
I was hugely important. I was in an F-150 truck, I think it was, driving to a job site in Michigan with somebody, look at a job. It was hot as could be. We're sweating. It was hot. We're driving down the road. I said, oh my God, is there like air conditioning flowing through the seat up into my body right now? He goes, yeah. I went, oh, I got out my phone. I put that on my list of things I need to have in an automobile. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I have zero interest in an old 1968 Z28 Camaro, as much as I love the way they look with funky bucket seats or whatever, that doesn't have all the new technology. So there you go.
I don't think there's any prettier car than a 72 Stingray.
Yeah.
I mean, that is got to be one of the most badass looking cars in the world. but what a horrible ride.
Yeah, they all were.
Yeah, yeah,
69 Chevelles, the Z28s, all them, you know, the RS Camaro, all of them, man. They're beautiful to look at, but no, I'll give me the
Yeah.
new technology.
yeah.
All right, we got so many, we're going to keep moving. Wood acclimated at my distributor. I actually never thought that was the case either. I never thought that the wood is acclimated at my distributor, but I guess some people probably do.
A lot of people do.
Wow.
And
Okay.
especially when the distributor tells you, no, we keep our place acclimated.
Yeah, it's not acclimated to the job site.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right, been doing this for 40 years. I don't need no training. I don't need no stinking training. What Sierra Madre, the treasurer of Sierra Madre, one of the greatest lines ever in a movie. We don't need no stinking badges. Badges? Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. You remember that movie?
Is that where that came from? I thought that came from a Clint Eastwood movie.
No, I don't think so.
No, I know the scene. Yeah, definitely.
Right, damn it. I have to look it up.
Speaking of movies, while you're looking that up, I watched a movie the other night. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you ever seen the movie The Irishman?
No.
I know you live it.
No,
You haven't seen this one yet?
what, is it new?
I think it might be a year or two old. Scorsese did it. Pesci's in it. De Niro.
I don't, doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, it came from the 1948 film, The Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Okay.
1948 classic. Anyhow, go ahead. Sorry. I don't recall the movie.
It's there's another big star in it. Can't think of his name. Who was the guy? He was the coach in Any Given Sunday. Big time actor.
De Niro, not De Niro. Al Pacino.
Pacino.
Yeah.
So it's directed by Scorsese. Pacino's in it. Pesci's in it. De Niro's in it. It's about Jimmy Hoffa, the whole Hoffa story.
I did see that movie. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where Pacino was Hoffa.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
thought he was a great Hoffa.
He was, but I'm over that mafia movie now. I'm tired of them. They've been done. They're played out.
God, I'm gonna sound like such a snob here. I really had a problem with the aging of the characters.
Well, yes,
to see
I
De
agree.
Niro trying to play a guy in his early 20s, it was confusing. I would
Okay.
hope that they just find somebody that kind of looked like him and do it that way, but where they're all playing younger versions of themselves.
Yeah.
It was a long movie too. I had to take a break during that movie.
Okay. So since you said that, I saw not too long ago Clint Eastwood's last movie, Cry Macho. That dude needs to stop making movies. Someone needs to get a hold of him. That's the worst damn movie I've ever seen in my life. And in one part of the movie, he's on a horse, training a horse. But then they showed him when the horse was going crazy. There was a wide shot from like 60 yards away. I kept thinking, if that man falls off that horse, he's going to break a hip. And then he had a love interest who was like 45 years old, younger than him. 45 years younger than him. Get out of here with that. Come on, man. It's over. I loved you, man, but it's everybody's got a shelf life. All right.
What'd you think of the mule?
The mule.
The mule. The movie.
Oh, I didn't like it. No, I'm over him. I mean,
so you don't like his really old guy, Gran Torino?
No,
Mule.
I want to remember him back in the day when he was the man. And yeah, so no, I didn't like the mule.
Okay.
Yeah. I like Gran Torino, oddly enough, a little bit because it was kind of more his character. He was a tough guy, and it worked in that movie. So
yeah.
All right. What else you got?
I don't know. Where were we?
Peeling finish can be fixed with a screen and coat. I have to say,
No way.
Yeah.
If it's peeling, you put finish on top of a floor that's peeling, usually it's just going to cause more peeling. Finish dries, it pulls tight. It pulls tight, it's going to find weak spots that's going to peel again.
Yeah. It's
You got a peeling floor, a screening coat isn't going to fix it. You got a sander.
like putting a house on a bad foundation. It just doesn't work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Buffer runs any direction. It's spinning circular. Yeah, we know we got to clock the buffers.
And it's amazing how many guys come to the school. I guess it's because I'm in training and I've been in training for a long time. So, a lot of this stuff just seems like second nature. But there's a lot of people out there, a lot of guys come to the schools like, come on, doesn't really matter, does it? And I was like, well, you can, one of the things I've been showing guys, you can only heal it on that right corner.
Mm-hmm.
You try healing it to the left, it doesn't go.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
Doesn't work. So clocking the buffer.
Big machines go left to right or right to left. Doesn't matter. Actually, we know it does.
It does matter.
Yeah.
You can run them the wrong way. Don't get me wrong. You can, they'll run, they'll cut. The problem with running them from the right side of the room to the left is you have that outside wheel that's not going to run where the sander has sanded.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anything it hits, it telegraphs to the cut head.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I know some guys still have a hard time with that when they say, oh, I've never had any problems. I've never had any problems. I run the belt sander right to left, but they are truly designed to run left to right. In the old days, the drum sanders are designed to cut from right to left.
Yes.
Back in the day, and also they were usually slanted at an angle. But back then too, the milling wasn't near as good as it is right now. We have to thank Pergo and those type of manufacturers for that in a way. That the milling of the floors got much better, and you don't have so much overwood. The stock wasn't like really peaked up over the next one, and you had to grind so much of that off. The floors come out now are way better milled than they were in the past. So the more coats, the better. Yeah, that can that 100%. I agree with that one. I've had customers tell me that, hey, I'll give you another $500, just put one more coat on it. And we'll tell them, no, we don't want the money. You've got 3 coats on there. It doesn't need another coat. You're walking on that last coat. You got a lot of build there. You got a great system, and you just don't need that next coat. So save your money.
Well, sometimes too, what I used to do and what I, tell our students, you got the homeowner, I did 2 sealers and 2 top coats. You're good to go. That's our recommended system. Well, some of the homeowners, well, if 2 top coats is good, I want 4.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. I'll give you 4, but it's got to be on my time frame. I'll do the 2 and 2, then I'll come back in 2 weeks, abrade it, and then I'll give you another 2 coats. That way we know everything is completely cured. Can't be just because they want it. But the other thing is, I never want to tell anybody no. And that's nice, easy money there too, right? Give them what they want, but it has to be done correctly.
Yeah, and I think too that you can, the problem with putting multiple coats on, and like, let's say you had to do a repair, there's debris in the finish, and you have to put a 4th coat on. And then God forbid that doesn't go good, now you're looking at a 5th coat. The more coats you put on, the more difficult it becomes to coat. And I think it's like a surface tension issue. I don't know what it is exactly, but it does make it gets so slick, the finish almost can't lay down. And we get these little tiny bubbles and stuff. I think that especially with oil base, the more you put on, sometimes the more challenging it becomes to
and that 2 weeks, that's for water base.
Yeah.
If it's oil base, I'll be back next month.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that everything is cured out completely and correctly before you start laying multiple coats on there. Because, that's what we know. That's why we recommend our system 2 and
Well,
2. We know everything's going to cure out
mhm.
correctly.
There's something also to be said for if you really knock that floor out of the park, like it's a 10 on a 10 scale, I really don't want to put that next coat on. You know what I mean? If we said we're going to put 3 coats on, we put 3 coats on, we knocked it out of the park. Let's take the win. You know what I mean? And not tempt fate and put that 4th coat on, and all of a sudden you've got a job site first thing going on.
Right.
All right. Personal protection equipment is for wimps. That was the mindset.
It really
Right.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the name of this show, Wood Floor Myths.
Yeah, that
I
was absolutely.
remember the first time I put my Pauline and my mother-in-law came out to a job one time, and we were doing a 16-lane bowling alley a couple towns away from where we live. So they brought the guys lunch. They brought us lunch, and when they came in, my mother-in-law's a nurse at the time,
Mhm.
and she could not believe the noise of the machines. I mean, she was just, blown away. She could hear it out in the parking lot, but when she opened the doors to come in, so
Yeah.
she said to Pauline, she goes, "You better get him some type of hearing protection. He's going to be deaf by the time he's 40." So she actually went out that day and bought me a set of hearing protection, and I think they're called Peltor. They're the ones that the guys at the airport use.
Oh, okay.
Those big ones like that.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember Pauline said, "Oh, I got you something. Or my mother got you something." And I remember looking at those thinking, they will laugh me out of the building,
Yeah.
And anyways, we're on a job and I'm edging inside of a closet. And it's, you've edged inside of a closet, right?
Mhm.
Without hearing protection. So I was like, this is crap. I'm going to go get those earmuffs. I know I got them out in the truck. I put those earmuffs on and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, but man, oh man, the crap that I heard from every guy in that crew.
Yeah.
And I was taking them off like, no, you got to try these things. This is
Mhm.
unbelievable. This is going to change your life. And they're,
Yeah.
Absolutely never. No way.
Well,
The same guys who were pulling Moisture Cure with no respirators, no.
Yep.
The old timers.
Yep. When I asked for knee pads, like 6 months into the trade of hand sanding all day long. Yeah, that's all I did for 6 months is pretty much hand sand and hook. And I asked my uncle for some knee pads, and I'll never forget what he said. "What are you, one of those kids that wants to live forever?" So, all right. So I put down a few off my list of myths that I thought was the case, and turned out not to be true at all. And one of them is orbital sanders. I just talked about hand sanding. We looked down our nose so much at orbital sanders.
Oh my gosh.
And when a new kid showed up on a job and asked if you could use one, we were disgusted with him. You know what I mean? Like nobody used orbital sanders. We all hand sand. It was the only way to do it right. And they turned out beautiful. Don't get me wrong. We hand sanding with 60 grit. They turned out beautiful. But there's a better way to do it.
That's a real good one. You're right, because I felt the same way.
This is going to be completely controversial. This next one I'm going to say.
It's a myth.
It's a myth. And some people believe this today. And I'm going to say something that the people are going to go, "Oh, he's out of his mind," or "He's a hack," or whatever. You do not have to remove shoe molding on a sand job. Now, is it smart to, or whatever, because you can charge money for the shoe molding, or because you don't, the shoe molding's beat up, you want to put down new shoe molding? Okay, I get it. But I can promise you, I do not need to remove shoe molding to sand the floor properly. And I'm not talking about leaving digs in the corner or leaving little halos or any of that kind of stuff. There should not be any of that. There should be zero of that. But you can absolutely. We did a lot of historical work where we didn't want to, or couldn't take off shoe molding, and you could get that edger right up on it without touching it. It doesn't count if you touch it. You can't touch it. And then sometimes you don't even need to use a scraper. You can, if you've got a good eye and whatever, you can get right up on there without kissing the molding, or you got to hook it and use the scraper to finish off the end of it. And
So the myth would be
that you have to remove it every
you
time.
have to remove shoe molding.
Yeah.
No, I wish Pete was on the show.
Mhm.
Pete and I hardly ever remove shoe molding. Hardly ever. It was just too much of a pain.
Yeah.
To do it, to get it back on there, put new on, you know, whatever. It was just way too much of it. No, we got to the point where we could get right up to the molding without destroying it, without really doing anything to it.
Yeah. There are people that are adamant that you have to remove the shoe molding. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying I'm right. Okay, so the other one is you can't raise your prices. And that one is you know, we talk about this so much, I don't want to beat this to death, but I mean, I absolutely thought that there was a ceiling. And I thought that ceiling was here. And it is way farther up than I ever thought possible. And you could raise, and we're seeing it with guys today that are actually making seriously good money because they don't have that limitation in their mind of where they need to be because someone is at this price. So now it is more relevant today than ever in our history. Inflation has gone up higher now than it ever has. I mean, you've got to raise your prices. You know, the material's gone up, whatever, and the labor, and there's a lot of work out there. You've got to raise your prices.
Everything has gone up. Labor,
yeah,
gas, material, everything, travel, everything has gone up. So you have to raise your prices just to survive.
Don't get stuck thinking I got to be a nice guy. Be a nice guy to yourself and raise your prices. You have to raise your price. Now, again, Rob and I are not accountants. Rob and I don't know your business model or whatever. But
we're not psychiatrists.
Yeah,
we're not.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things. We're not doctors.
No, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, is that really, that was one thing that I was stuck on as a young guy, thinking that 275 is the max, because that's what the big guys, that's what the high end guys were getting. Even then, I'm sure it was way further on than we thought it was. So that's one of them.
Almost every training I do, somebody will whisper in my ear, "You can't get more than 250 at this time."
Yeah.
Every single, and there's always a guy in the back who's charging 7. Always.
Yeah. And laughing.
Always.
There's a little bit of a BS factor. I will, let's be honest. I mean, there are some times when, or there's regionally, there's like, I'm doing $8 a foot, but the guy's living in Beverly Hills versus a guy making $4 a foot in Mississippi. It might be the same thing. You know what I mean? So there is that to account for. But in your area, you know, it's all relative. I got 2 more. One is CNC medallions. I thought that would be more of a thing by now. Remember when they first came out, the CNC, the router, the medallions that you could buy, all the border work and stuff. Great company.
The Oshkosh medallion was the greatest medallion of all time. It came with everything you needed.
Yeah, the bit inside, the template and everything.
The bits, everything.
I thought that was like, wow, this is the direction of the industry. There's going to be a lot of these. It's going to be very common to do these. And it really still is a small part of the industry. That
really died quick.
It did. And they look dated a little bit when you see them floors right now. So, and here's the thing too.
Do you remember, because Tom Piotr got me a set that I used to keep in a big tube. And they were like a vinyl version of the medallion. So you could, during an estimate, you could take it out and throw it on the floor and go, look, I can give you this.
Yeah.
Put that out on the floor. And once I started doing that, I thought, oh, I'm going to sell a medallion with every job.
Yeah. And Here's the thing too, is with these laser cut products. Um, they're so perfect that there's something to be said for a hand cut floor, even if it is not as perfect as a perfect CNC router. And it's like if you see a horror movie back in the 30s or 40s or whatever, where it was black and white, it was grainy, there was no phenomenal special effects, but they just worked. You know what I mean? They got into the really, really scary or whatever, versus today, like with CGI and all the special effects and how they can make anything now, but it doesn't have the same feel. And I think there's something to be said about hand cut floors, even if they're not as fancy as some of the CNC cut medallions. But anyhow, I thought medallions would be a real bigger thing than they are. And my last myth that I thought is that you have to do this alone. You're on your own, running a business and starting a business and running a business, and because there's nowhere where do you get any help? You're doing this on your own, and that's a myth. There are people that there's mentoring programs out there. There are people there's organizations that will help mentor small businesses. I wrote down a couple of them. One is SCORE, SCORE, is you can Google them. There's like 300 chapters in America. Another one is the SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, that you can find and get some help, get some mentoring on. So that's something that I would have, when I was a 25-year-old kid, man. I didn't know anybody that would really, with that, other than my father-in-law, whatever little knowledge, and he wasn't, a hell of a lot of help. But if there was organizations out there that were like that, then I would have, man, why not take advantage of these? Some of the most successful people I know in this industry today have used mentors and have become mentors. So so just maybe keep that in mind. Now, I don't have the time to be a mentor to anybody, but in another circumstances, I would probably would enjoy that.
Maybe you could point somebody in the right direction, just like you just did.
Yeah, there you go. That's my mentor.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because I have a feeling I would say, well, how come you didn't do this yourself? You want me to do this for you now? Huh? Or get your act together before you come to me.
There it is.
You know what I mean?
That's what people don't understand about you. You're a giver.
That's right.
You are a giver, man.
All right. So those are some myths, and you pointed out with one time, Rob, that with our generation has probably seen some of the most changes in this industry. If you look at where we started our career to where it is right now, who would have thunk all the changes that we would see, and the other thing is it is always evolving. This is ongoing, and it'd be interesting even 10 years from now, the changes in the industry that'll be out there. All right.
Got it.
So there you go. Thank you very much. It's been another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. Please stay tuned for another episode.